Hello, welcome to Spread Book Joy. Grab a cup of tea and join me. I've got another reading ramble for you. If you're new to the channel, I'm Jack. If you're not new, welcome back to Spread Book Joy. And if you are new, just to let you know, reading ramble is what I call my catch-all term for a video where I just ramble on about books, what I'm reading, what I've read, my current sort of reading plans, if there are any, and just my thoughts on reading and things I've been thinking about lately. So I will do reading rambles, usually one a month, because, leaving it longer than that means I, forget what I told you in the last one. And as things stand, it's been probably 5 weeks since my last one, so quite a bit of catching up to do. Now, in terms of TBRs and readathons and things like that, I did have some thoughts on it as well, and I just wanted to talk about readathons. There is a lot going on Booktube. Last month, in my last reading ramble, I talked about the FOMO, the fear of missing out we all have, and all the amazing things that are going on in the community. And I've had a real think about it lately, and there's so much going on. And this month I've managed to get myself involved in loads of things for a number of reasons, which I'll go into when I talk about them, mainly because they're things that I'm interested in joining and I want to do, so the FOMO, the fear of missing out on reading those books, but also because there are people that I love on this community who are doing amazing things and I want to support them. So there are a couple of reasons for joining things, and I thought another way of supporting, even if I can't join in, because being too much of a joiner in person, you end up stressing out and getting yourself into a situation kind of like I've got myself into this April, which I'll go into in a minute. But I do want to support people. So in my reading rambles, what I'm going to do is what's going on in Booktube kind of segment. Oh, by the way, this is my Matilda mug, if I haven't said it already. Isn't it gorgeous? I love it. It's got that quote on the back, "A brilliant idea hit her." Love Matilda. So it was middle grade March last month, and I said I would be taking part, and I did. I took part based on lots of things I was going to be reading anyway. Continued on with the Anne of Green Gables series, part of the Anne Along, which is being run all year by Emily over at Novell Novels. Love that group, loving the series. It's all very wholesome and I love it. I also read The Lost Whale by Hannah Gold. I got an ARC from NetGalley. I'm going to put a review up soon. She's the author who wrote The Last Bear, and I've got a review for that, which I will link in the description box below. So I mentioned DNFing for now, or I've got a DNFY, did not finish yet, shelf on Goodreads and on my story graph, or a tag on my story graph. If I am overwhelmed and doing a lot of reading and I've got some things on that I just need to put aside for now, I will do. So I've been doing that this year quite successfully, I'd have to say. And one of the books that I DNFY'd was Pandora's Jar by Natalie Haynes, and I've just picked it up again today. In fact, I just started reading it again today. I've got 2 chapters left now. I'm halfway through the penultimate chapter, which is on Medea. Pandora's Jar is a great book. If you're at all interested in classical Greek mythology, Natalie Haynes makes such great comparisons between modern cultural figures. I think I might have mentioned in the last video, she compares Buffy the Vampire Slayer to an Amazon, and I'm just like, yes, I'm with you, Natalie Haynes. And she's a classicist. She studies and teaches the classics, so she's fantastic. Also used to be a stand-up comedian, so if you're not familiar with her, a lot of people might have read her fiction. She wrote 1,000 Ships and a few other books like that, like retellings of Greek myths that have been popular in the last few years. I've not read any of her fiction yet. I've got some downloaded that I do want to read, but yeah, Pandora's Jar, love it. I'm really enjoying it. I just want to get back to it. I'm quite eager. I kind of paused it to film this video today. So I was going to film a video yesterday, and I was just so exhausted from my recent bout with COVID. My partner and I have realised that we are just still recovering. It suddenly hits you that you're not a spring chicken anymore. So if you're in your 40s and 50s like we are, then it does take its toll on you. I think it takes its toll on you whatever age you are. But everyone telling you that COVID is mild, yes, it's a mild strain of COVID, but you still had a flu virus, and it does put your body under strain, and the sort of exhaustion and the fatigue from it has been a real feature of our lives for the last few weeks. So yesterday, when I got home and I was going to film this video and upload it yesterday, all I wanted to do was crawl into bed and read and sleep. So that's what I did yesterday, which is why I've got a lot of things to catch you up on. Another thing I finished in March was Beloved by Toni Morrison. I read as part of a read-along hosted by Sina, whose Booktube channel I will link in the description box below. And this is a book that's been on my TBR for ages. When I saw she was doing a read-along, I was like, yes, it gives me the reason to pick things up that I'm already planning to read. And this book, completely blew me away. It's a Pulitzer Prize winning novel. Most people have heard of it if they've not at least read it. And it's set in the aftermath of the Civil War and a woman who is very much haunted, not just by her past, but by some tragedies that have occurred within her own family. And I don't want to go into it too much without any spoilers, but the language in it, Toni Morrison's style of writing, took some getting used to start with. But once I got into the flow of it, it was a very quick read, really hard hitting read about the treatment of slaves in the South. But most people have heard of Beloved. I don't really need to talk about it too much at length, aside from to say, didn't stop thinking about it after I'd read it, and I'm really glad that I did. I also did a buddy read of Yours Cheerfully by AJ Pearce with one of my friends who did the buddy read, which is not a booktuber, just a personal friend of mine, my best friend, and we did a buddy read of her AJ Pearce's book Dear Mrs. Bird last year, and it was just lovely and cosy and something we both needed to read at that time, and we thoroughly enjoyed Yours Cheerfully. Yours Cheerfully is again about Emmy Lake, who is a girl in the Second World War who works for a magazine and works for a agony aunt column in a magazine. And in the second book, she is trying to the magazine are asked to help promote war work and ask more women to come and do war work to help the war effort. And as she investigates factories and the treatment of women in the factories, she discovers that a number of things which I wasn't aware of, that women whose husbands who had died, their pensions stopped, so they may be left with children and widowed and then no money, so they would have to go for war work. But the factories weren't geared up to support working mothers, and children would often have to be snuck into like armaments factories and everything and hidden so that the women could do their shift work. And if they were caught, they'd be fired. So it was really interesting to see how women were asked to help with the war effort, but no provision was made for working mothers particularly, and what they would do with their children if they don't have a husband at home, they don't have anyone at home to help them. Really fascinating, and we really enjoyed it, and also very funny and very light in lots of places as well. I also did a book haul video you might have seen, in which one of the things I picked up was Barbara Pym's Quartet in Autumn. Barbara Pym's a mid-20th century author and someone that I spot a lot on Marilyn Maya Mendoza's channel and Gina Stania and Lil's Vintage World. Look at the cover of this. I love the cover of this book. Alexander McCall Smith did the introduction to Quartet in Autumn, which is one of her final novels, I believe, one of her later novels anyway. It was published in the 70s, and it was all about 4 office workers, 2 men and 2 women. They're all single, and they're coming to the end of their working life and retirement, and it was just very wryly observant and humorous, and she also kind of brings to our attention how invisible and how redundant older people can be made to feel at that stage in their life. And I just loved it. Quite melancholy book, very funny in places, but also very melancholy and poignant, as you can imagine. I definitely want to read more by Barbara Pym, definitely. War and Peace. I did read about 100 pages more of War and Peace, so I've got about I think just over 500 pages to go on War and Peace, and it is still enjoyable, but I just keep getting distracted by other books. I keep starting so many other books because of lots of other things that are going on, exciting things that have been happening, things that I've wanted to join in on. And then also, just because I'm in the mood to pick up a particular type of books, I'm really trying to be kind to myself and follow my mood. And I've employed my did not finish yet shelf for War and Peace. War and Peace, I will carry on with it. I will finish it. It's just a matter of when. I tried to join in the 1001 Book Club Discord reading of War and Peace. Sandy over at Miss Reads a Lot is hosting a 1001 book club. She had this as her March pick for March of the Mammoth. She has finished War and Peace, so she started it in March and finished it I think this week she's done a video review of War and Peace, her spoiler-free thoughts, I believe. I'm going to go and watch it. And yeah, I've just not kept up. I thought I would use that as an excuse to finish the book. Now, really, in the grand scheme of things, a 500-page novel is not something that would take me that long normally, but I'm just too distracted, and War and Peace takes a lot of my brain power to sit down and read in the mornings, so I've just put it aside for now. Another book I had out from the library when the month started was Unsettled by Clair, which was on the Booker long list or short list last year, and I put on reserve at the library, so it came up and I started reading it, and I thought I enjoyed it. It was a good book. Kind of left me with some questions at the end, to be honest. I was a little bit unsatisfied by a couple of the things that happened in it, but it's about a twin brother and sister who are in their 50s and their mother passes away, and they've always lived with their mother. It's a rural English setting. There are family skeletons in the closet and all sorts of things come to light once their mother has passed on. And yeah, I enjoyed it. I was a bit, like I said, unsatisfied by a couple of the elements at the end, but I can't really talk about those without giving away spoilers. I'd also accidentally got really deep into the first Wheel of Time book, The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan, because I discovered that Rosamund Pike had done a new audiobook version of it. I've read The Eye of the World twice before, and this would be my third time reading it, and I have been thinking of rereading the Wheel of Time books that I'd already read in order to try and finish the series. I wasn't planning on rereading it anytime soon because it looks so huge, but I saw Rosamund Pike had done the new audiobook version, and I've always wanted a decent audiobook version of it because I don't like the ones that were, loads of people love them, I don't. The Michael Kramer and Kate Redding audiobooks, I'm not a fan, but I thought I'd just have a quick listen to it, put it on, got sucked straight into it, and I can highly recommend, if you like fantasy, if you've been thinking about reading The Wheel of Time, and if you'd like to audiobook it, this is one of the best audiobook performances ever. She was amazing. She's a really great actress and she brought the whole story to life. I loved the book anyway because it's that really old epic fantasy. It's got a lot of flaws and a lot of problems, but I just find myself quite immersed in the story and the world, and I've got a lot of nostalgic feel for epic high fantasy, so I quite like that kind of book. But Rosamund Pike reading The Eye of the World, fantastic. Plans I had going into April that were definite. I was going to be reading House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. I was going to read this with Alice, so I'm reading it with Alice from Alice in the Giant's Bookshelf, and I'd like to say we're halfway through, but you can't say that with House of Leaves because of the way the book's formatted. But I think we've broken the back of the really complex part of it, and when I say complex, it's like no other kind of book you'll ever read. There are lots of footnotes and appendices that you have to go and read. There are things to puzzle out in the book. I'm here for the story though. I'm really not here for the puzzle parts. Like there was a bit where there was a letter where you had to read the letter and the first letter of each word was the code. I was like, I'm not doing that. And I go onto Google, you can Google it. So many people have read House of Leaves now. So things like that, I was just like, no, I'm not going to sit here with a pen and paper and work that out. I'm just going to Google it. But yeah, I'd say halfway through. We're probably more than halfway through because up until this point where we are, past that is a lot of appendices which we have read quite a bit of already. So it's an interesting book. I think we've probably got a few more. We'd probably be finished it by the end of this week. The other big reading plan I had was the Pachinko along being run by the amazing, lovely Gemma over at Gem of Books. It's her first read along and it's so successful. So many people have jumped on this read along, and that's another 500-600 page tome. I think it's about 600 pages long, so I'm reading it on my Kindle. And I was like, right, they're two big things that I'm definitely doing in the month of April. So yeah, I thought I can't really take any much more on because I was reading Pandora's Jar. I was reading Margaret Atwood's Burning Questions, her new collection of essays. I've DNF'd that for now and only did that today because I've realised I haven't really read it in about a week, and I can come back to that. I started listening to A Man Called Ove because the Frederik Backman book, which I have read before and I've listened to before, but I wanted something at night. I like to listen to something I've already read so that if I fall asleep and miss the story, it's not too much. But I got so involved in that I listened to the whole thing and finished it off last Sunday, just listened to it, and then I got my Kindle book out and I read it. So I really enjoyed that. And as if that wasn't enough, so I was reading, this point last week I had on the go Eye of the World, Unsettled Ground, Burning Questions, A Man Called Ove, Pachinko, False Rose. I had about 7 books on the go, and as if that wasn't enough, I got real massive FOMO because Amy over at Booktube with Amy and lovely Ange at Ange's Book Chatter, they are running the Out of the Coffin read along of all these Sookie Stackhouse books. Charlaine Harris's Sookie Stackhouse series, which most people, the Southern Vampire series, or Chronicles I think it's called, most people know it from the series True Blood, and they're on book 4, which is one of my favourite books of the series. I was chatting with Ange and it just gave me massive FOMO, so I was reading 7 books and decided to start an 8th book. So this month has been really the opposite of a reading slump for me. So what is the opposite of a reading slump? I don't know, a reading frenzy. So I've literally been in a reading frenzy, wanting to start everything, wanting to join in everything. And normally if I had 8 books on the go, I'd be stressing out. But my newfound attitude towards reading, in that if I do feel stressed about it, I'm just going to stop. Meant that I've just taken everything in my stride, really. I finished Sookie yesterday, I finished The Eye of the World this morning, I finished Unsettled Ground yesterday, that's when I took myself off to bed and read, so I finished Unsettled Ground. I read a load of chapters for Pachinko, which is phenomenal, and I'm loving Pachinko. I started more of The False Rose, so I'm really happy with the amount that I'm reading and I've got on at the moment. I'm not going to start any new books because I almost, when I finished Sookie, the book 4 yesterday, which was called Dead to the World, the next book is Dead as a Doornail, and I almost immediately jumped on to start reading the next book. But I'm going to hold off because I've also got to read Anne of Windy Poplars this month, and if I have time, and this is where I'm going to get into what's going on Booktube, I really want to join in the 1001 Book Club reading of Walden by Henry David Thoreau. So Sandy's book club this month is reading Walden. It's short. I've managed to get a copy on Scribd. And so at the end of the month, I want to read Anne of Windy Poplars and Walden after I finish House of Leaves. I definitely want to finish The False Rose. I'm definitely going to be finishing Pachinko. So yeah, there's a lot going on. And I've been in frenzy about it, massive reading frenzy, but I've been loving it, so that's all good. As well as all this, I've been running my own read along, Picture This, so I have also been reading loads of picture books. I'm not going to go into it part of the reading ramble because I'm going to do separate videos on all my Picture This content. But yeah, Picture This, if you're not familiar with it and you'd like to take part in something super easy and very satisfying, I'll link the announcement video in the description box below. But as well as Gemma Books doing her Pachinko along, the Killer Reads book club, AJ Dunn, this is one that I really wanted to take part in this month. It's Enduring Love by Ian McEwan. AJ's running a book club all around the best thrillers, I believe they are, and they have a Discord and an announcement video, and I'll put it in the description box below so you can go and check that out if you're interested in joining. Contact AJ and they will add you to the server. The other book is, like I said, the book club, the 1001 Book Club for Walden. Also, there is a lovely book club being run by Hugo from Scientist Reading World and Julie at Hungry Bookworm. It's called the Quarterly Book Club and it's focused on good YA fiction, and next quarter they are going to be reading Daughters of the Moon Goddess, or Daughter of the Moon Goddess, which I've been reading tons of good reviews of. Another thing that Hugo is running, 2 other things actually, which I'm just going to promote here. He's running a thing called the Genre Soup Book Club, which if you're interested, I'll put a link in the description box. He's running that with several other booktubers, and it's called Genre Soup because it's going to focus on lots of different genres and themes. The other thing he's running this month, which I am in my own way participating in, and that is a readathon called Continuathon, and it's all for people who want to continue book series, and we've all got those series we want to continue, haven't we? So for me, things that are going to fill in the prompts for that are definitely the Sookie Stackhouse books are a series that I want to finish, so that's why I'm joining in the Out of the Coffin read along, so that counts for Continuathon as well. False Rose counts for Continuathon. The Anne of Windy Poplars, which is a really long running series that I'm joining as well. So I'm kind of joining it in my own way, but it's been the brainchild of someone called Laura from Laura's Little Library. I've just checked out her channel and subscribed to her. She's only got 158 subscribers, I believe, so do check out her original video. It's all her brainchild and she's doing it with the lovely Hugo, but she thought it all up as far as I'm aware from her announcement video, and just go and check her video out as well. So much going on again, and I'm really happy with my choices of what I've joined in on and what I'm promoting. And like I said, if I can't join in on a certain thing anymore, I said it in my last reading ramble, even if I can't join in and I have massive FOMO at something, I can promote it on here, and I can also pick up a book. If it's like the Irish readathon, which I didn't join in on, I'm still planning on doing some reading for that. Just wouldn't be in the month that it was supposed to happen. But the readathon has done that thing where it's put that theme or concept into my mind, and that's a good thing, right? It's like if someone picked up picture books next month because they couldn't join into my picture book readathon, I'd be over the moon. So that's where we are. So have you been having a reading frenzy, a reading slump? What do you do if you've got tons and tons of reading on the go? Does it stress you out? It used to stress me out, but as someone with a bit of anxiety, I'm really trying to change my mindset and look at, if I feel pressure, where is that pressure coming from? So invariably, like I've said before, the pressure is coming from me myself. So when I looked at how many books I had on the go this time last week, I usually would have been freaking out about it, but I've also got a bit of time off work at the moment, so not completely, but I have several jobs, and one of them, because one of them's in a school and it's the school holidays, I've got a bit of a less hectic work schedule at the moment. So I looked at that and I looked at what's coming up and I thought, no, just continue with it, and if I feel stressed, drop some things or put some things off or whatever, because I realised, like I said, reading's got to be fun. If it's not fun and we're not enjoying it, why are we doing it? And if you enjoyed this complete ramble, and it really was a ramble today, and you've not been here before, you might want to subscribe. So think about clicking the subscription button, but at least drop me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I don't mind. Put a comment in the comment box and let's get into what you've been reading and what you think about reading pressure, or if there are any things going on YouTube that I've not talked about. I'd love to find out as well. All right, hopefully I will see you again here soon. Bye.